Hello, guys. Good morning again. So last time I was in integration down under, we had an issue and we were not able to do the live demos because at that point Microsoft released a new version of the extension and that broke the designer. I have now fixed that. I fixed that in the same day, nevertheless, but now I have time to record this and I'm going to take also this opportunity that is a recorder session or the second part of the session. I'm going to show some additional stuff that I didn't have the intention to show because of the time frame of the session. So let's start. And what you're seeing here on the screen, and before we go to the new data map, I'm kind of going and do an history of the mappers of Microsoft. And what you're seeing here in the screen is the Beanstalk map. Okay, and actually it's a Beanstalk project, and this is the first sample I present in my book. It is called the basic of the maps. Okay, um, the, and I decided to do that because it has kind of the most basic operation that you can find in a transformation when you transforming a message. So you have here a concatenation of first name, last name. We have here a calculation and data manipulation that we actually are converting a data of birth to an age. Okay, so in this case, and inside the Beanstalk map, we are kind of converting that data of birth to actually a date and then round it to be less kind of close to what is your actually date. Okay, this is a sample. Maybe it's not the best code, but it's a sample of data manipulation. We have a direct transformation or mapping. Okay, so we are mapping address to the address in the destination message, and we are doing kind of a condition mapping. In this case, if zip code exists on the source schema, we are going to map to the destination schema. Otherwise, we are not going to map that value. It doesn't appear in the destination message. We are adding new data. Okay, there is no processing data on the source message, so we are doing kind of a timestamp now, datetime now, and add it to the destination message. And we are doing a huge amount of calculation. So here I have a list of phone calls, and based on the international code, I'm doing a total of national calls and a total of international calls. In this case, Portugal is plus 351. So every phone call or any phone call that with the phone number starting with plus 351, I'm going to add to total national, otherwise total international. So, and I'm going to use the same message payload in all mappers. That means the Beanstalk mapper, the logic app consumption mapping, and the new data map. And if I kind of right click and test the map, you see that I can do that directly inside my Visual Studio solution. It's going to take that message payload as a sample because I already defined that to use that payload, and the output will be kind of this. And you see that I have full name Sandro Pereira, age 45. I'm from Portugal. My zip code, date time now. You see that 5 of June, July, sorry, almost 11 and 30. And I have 15 euros of international calls and 2.7 of national calls. Okay, this is the Beanstalk map. Now, before we go to to the new data mapper, and we can still use this map or the XSLT generate behind the scenes of the map, because if you go here on our Beanstalk map, once we compile, it's going to be XSLT behind the scenes when it deploy to our environment. But we can go and validate the map, and you see that it will generate an XSLT for me that I can open. Oh, it's opening here, sorry. And I can grab this XSLT and use in my integration account. Maybe sometimes we need to do some fine tunings, but yeah, we can still use this Beanstalk, this XSLT generated by the Beanstalk map, and use it in our Logic app in integration account. And this way, kind of migrating some old Beanstalk projects is going to be kind of easy, no? But Microsoft decided also to kind of lift and ship this editor and put it outside the Beanstalk solution, because, well, it's people that are not going to migrate and you are creating actually new projects. We don't need to have a Beanstalk environment just to generate or create maps and schemas. So what Microsoft did is they removed this editor and had it kind of in isolated way for the Logic app consumption. Okay, yeah, you maybe can use this in the Logic app standard, but this was made for Logic app consumption when they release it. And actually, if you can see this, and this is Visual Studio 2019 with the Logic app mapper, and the look and feel is the same. So they just grab that mapper, and without any changes, they put it available for us to use it. And I didn't mention, but all of these squares that are here, they are called functoids, basically functions that we can manipulate the data from one side to the other. And you see on the toolkit, toolbox, that you have a lot of them. Logical functions, cumulative functions, advanced functions, and they are exactly the same that you find in Beanstalk, okay? So kind of I just copy that map, add it here in my Logic app solution. I could create it from scratch. It doesn't matter. It has the same kind of capabilities. And if I do the same, and again use the same payload, test the map, that is going to produce the same output. Okay, yes to all. You see that still have standard parameter 45, 2 minutes the date is 2 minutes older because I run it now and the other was 2 minutes ago. Total international call 15 and national 2.7. So actually the same, because in fact it's the same code that is running behind the scenes. So the XSLT is the same. And you can use these extension for Visual Studio to add XML transformations and create schemas, of course, and flat file schemas that you can use inside Logic app standard or consumption, but mainly consumption with the integration account. And as you can see that if I add new item, I will have then a Logic app here, and you see that I can create flat files, schemas, and maps. Okay, so quite the same. And if I create a new map, the experience the same as in Beanstalk, if you are not familiar with that. And I say, okay, that's a map. I have a source schema. I have a destination schema. I open. I click on the link. It shows me all the schemas that I have available inside my solution. I say person origin. I say then on the destination will be person, can be this, person target, and you see that expand, and there you go, you have it, and then it's just a way of string concatenate first name and then last name, and then I can map to the full name, and if I want I can go inside my functoid and I can kind of customize that, saying I don't want first name and last name to be together, I want a space, Sandro Pereira space, Sandro space Pereira, sorry, that's why. So I add a space here and I can kind of reorganize all my input parameters, and there you go, my first mapping condition is there. So, and you know the drill, I'm not going to explore too much because the session is not to explore this map. Okay, so we have all of these capabilities, and now Microsoft decided to create the data mapper. One of the biggest difference between, and let me close this one, this map and the other map, there are many, but one of the key difference is that Beanstalk Mapper and the Logic App Consumption or Visual Studio that mapper, whatever you call it, we can do XML to XML transformations. Okay, so it has to be an XML in the inbound, and it has to be an XML on the outbound, and that's how it works. Now, the new data mapper is different because I can have JSON to XML, XML to XML, XML to JSON, JSON to JSON. Doesn't matter. Okay, so it will be able to transform any kind of message format along there is a schema. It can be a JSON schema or an XML schema. So let me load the basic of maps. Same map that I show in the Beanstalk map and in the Logic App Consumption map, and you see that it is the same payload on the right on the source, and the same payload message schema on the destination. Now you see that there is a lot of green and exclamations. This is just warning saying that I'm mapping, but age is an integer, and what I'm providing is not mandatory to be an integer, but actually I'm doing the integer. I know that it's going to be an int, so just a warning. And if I enter that person target, I see that I have a concatenation here. If I click on the concat function, and in this case, Microsoft decided to rename all of these squares that you see in the middle. They are not called functoids anymore, they are called functions, okay? So it's just a name, but the concept is the same. They are doing data manipulation, okay? So, and you see here that if I select, if I select the concat, I know that I have the last name, I have a comma and space, and then the first name. I have kind of the address is a direct link from one side to the other. Zip code, it has here, if exists a zip code, then I'm going to map the zip code. I'm doing current data, and I'm doing this data of birth also calculation. Now you see here, and that's just a friendly advice, that you see that some of these shapes or functions are overlapping. At the moment, we cannot drag and drop and reorder that in a better way that we can read better. But again, this is a preview, and Microsoft is solving that issue. So in the future, in the close future, we may have, and we will have the possibility to drag and drop these and reorder that shapes not be overlapped, and so we can read better the map. And if you go to the billing part of the story, you see that I already have this slightly different, but it's doing the same stuff. It's a different map, so some stuff are doing in a different way, but it's the same logic. I'm doing if it starts with plus 351, and you see here if it starts to plus 351, then it's going to map and do the sum. This is a cumulative sum, and map that to total national or international calls. And I can also do the test here and provide the same input. Let me copy the input that I have in the other side. And if I paste it here and test it, we need to get the same output from that transformation. As you see that I have full name, Pereira Sandro. The other was slightly different because I changed that mapping, but it's the same. Age 45, I'm from Portugal. Daytime, it's still today at 11:24, and you see that is correct. And total national 2.7 and 15. So it is the same. That means that this basic transformation that happens normally inside a map, we can actually at the moment do it in Beanstalk. We can do everything in that map. It's 23 years old, so it has many capabilities, but again, XML to XML. We can do it in the Logic app in Visual Studio, that kind of the Logic app mapper, because it's kind of the same engine, just they remove from one side and put it isolated, so we can work inside Visual Studio without the need to install a Beanstalk environment. And we can actually do the same in the new data mapper, okay? So we have all of these capabilities present. Uh, one one pattern that I want to show you now is a common pattern that happens inside Beanstalk. And let me bring Beanstalk back again. Let me close this. Yes, this is the one. Is the aggregated pattern. And the aggregated pattern means that we have many messages and we want to extract part of the information of a specific message and part of the information in another message and combine them to a destination message. This is very familiar and happens many times when we receive a message for a system. We need to grab more details from another system, let's say CRM or human resource system, receive the user ID and other detail of the user, and then we need to grab the user information from the kind of the human resource system, and then we need to combine all of this information and send it to a specific system or update or something like that. Okay, so it happens often inside enterprise integration projects. Well, in Beanstalk, it's quite simple to do that, no? And this type of maps works inside an orchestration. We can do many types of integration inside Beanstalk. Some of them we don't need integration, it's just kind of schemas, map, pub subs, and that's it. But when we need a business logic, when we need more logic, we create an orchestration. And that's kind of the same of creating a logic app. It's the workflow. And this data this aggregated pattern happens only if we have an orchestration inside Beanstalk, because this type of map only are supported inside an orchestration. And to do that, we basically create an orchestration that I have it here. And if you are not familiar with an orchestration, you will see what it is an orchestration now. But again, looks and feel the same of a logic app, despite being different, of course. And let it open. Sorry, I have many things open inside my machine, so it's going to be a little slow. And basically, we say I want a new transformation. I want to map. Let me see. As a result, and then I will say that I'm going to add a new map. I'm calling the integration down under map, and my source schema will be address, my other source schema will be users, and my destination will be the result, right? And okay, behind the scenes, Beanstalk is kind of internal creating a different schema with multiple schemas inside, and it will generate a map. And then you see that I have input message part 1, that is my address schema, and I have input part 0 and part 1. The part 0 is the address, and the part 1 is the user. Okay, and then I can map from one side to the other. I have it here already, and you see that I can kind of aggregate this information and put in the destination. How can we do that? And can we do that inside using the new data mapper? And I say, yes, you can. So I have it here. I'm going to receive, and for the sake of agility, it's already running. So I'm going to try and then show you more in details. But I have here HTTP that I'm going to receive a payload, a JSON payload. I'm going to emulate the call to kind of a SQL database or human resource, and it's going to produce an output. In this case, it should be kind of connected here and receive a response from that connector. I'm just going to emulate that to be a static payload. So that's going to be my second message, the address, postal code, and town. And then what I'm going to do is kind of do the same strategy that Beanstalk did in the background. I'm going to compose a multi-part message, and I see that the input message part 0, it is the JSON payload that I'm going to receive on the HTTP request. And the input part 1 is going to be that message that I emulate by the call of an external system. So in that case, I'm going to have, again, a schema that has two types of messages, and I can do this aggregation. So let me just show it to you. So I have here user ID, last name, and first name. Okay, again, this is my first message. And the second message that you see here only have address, postal code, and town. Okay, so we have different elements in my original payload and my call to the other system. So if I call this now, send it, what it's going to do is bear with me a second, and you see that user ID 1, full name Pereira Sandro, address is Porto, Portugal, postal code that is Pedroso, and town Pedroso. So I did an aggregation pattern using the data mapper. Okay, and now let me and because this was running, I see that you have this history also here, and you can check that I received the Sandro Pereira last name, first name. The emulation of that was postal code Portugal, Pedroso, Pedroso. I compose that, and you see that input message part 0 is my inbound payload that I sent with the postman, and this is the other part of message. I add the transformation, I send that, and you get this back, and that's it. So it's working. Let me kind of stop the engine here, and let me show you in more details. So, and before I'm kind of showing the map, inside the logic app standard, there is a new action now that we still have the option about XML validation and transformation that needs an integration account, of course. Okay, but now we have this data mapper, and there is, you see that there is a new action here, the data mapper operation and transform using data mapper XSLT. And by doing that, you see that now I can specify the map, and it's going to be the aggregation pattern. And then the content that is going to be kind of the output of the multi-part message. Okay, and there you go. Now you run it, you are going to execute that. But let me open now the let me delete this from here, so I do not forget. And if you go now to the Azure, for the Azure, where you see all the extensions you have installed, we have here now a data mapper extension, and we can, in this case, I'm going to load that, and you see that I have here the aggregated pattern, and it's kind of the same. So if I enter in the root, I see that I'm getting the user ID from the first part, and the name and the address. I'm going to the second part of the message, picking up that from one side to the other. Okay, and again, I can test that if I provide a map and so on and so forth. Another thing that it's here on the data mapper, and for you to know also, is that once you we are adding and doing the transformation, there is this option here, show code, and you see that it has kind of the transformation rules that you are applying here. So sometimes when we are mapping, it's good to have these just in order to see if it's producing the actually the same stuff that we want to produce. No, again, this is preview. There are something that is not going to work, and as I mentioned on the first part of the session, send the feedback to Microsoft. Okay, they are able look into that feedback and fix all of these. Okay, even today I already provide 3 feedback for them. So the goal is to have a good data mapper that in the future we can all work and be happy. So let's try to recreate these basic of maps to see how this works. Okay. Now, let's create a new map and see how this works from scratch for you guys to see and learn the user experience of the new data mapper. So create, you go to the Azure extensions, you have now a data mapper extension there, if you install data mapper extension, of course, and then you can load an existing map or create a new one. Let's click on create a new one and provide a name. Integration done on the map, and click enter, and that will create a data mapper inside your folder project. And of course, to use these source schemas, target schemas, if you go to the exported of your solution, you notice that exists an artifact folder, and on that artifact folder is schemas and maps, and you need to add the schemas and maps there. Once you add all of this stuff, there you then have the same kind of user experience of the kind of, let's call it bespoke map, source schema, destination schema. You click on the source schema, you have to select the schema of the source message. This can be an XML schema or the JSON schema. Okay, you see that this one user data is a .json and the other XSD. So person origin, add, and then target origin, and then select the person target. And you see that now we have the same inbound and outbound schemas of the basics of maps transformation. And then we need to start working on that. So let's select the person target, and you see that kind of disappear the source schema. It didn't disappear. So here we need to select which elements we need to use inside this specific transformation. So click select, and you see that all the schemas, all the source schema is here, and we need to specify which elements are we going to use on this transformation. In this case, we are going to use first name, last name, date of birth, address, zip code, and that's it. Oh, sorry, zip code. Now, we are going to start with the concatenate first name and last name, and on top, left corner on the top, there is this icon about the source schema and the functions. And let's click on the functions, and now we have access to the functions. Previously they were called functoids, now functions. And we can, of course, navigate or collapse these, or we can search, and in this case we want the concat. So click on concat, and this will appear on the top of the source schema. Again, we cannot drag and drop until at least for now. Microsoft is improving that, and we in the future will be able to drag and drop this function. Now, the best way to work with it at the moment is click on the function, and then we see that in the properties we can specify all the properties. And here, because we want first name, last name, but we need to separate, we need to add a field, and then this will be the first name, the first input. The second input will be a custom value because it's going to be kind of a space, and on the third we are going for the last name, and then we can map the output to the full name, and that's it. We have our first data manipulation and mapping rule created. Okay, we can always go and see show code, and you see that full name is a concat, all of these. We have kind of the rules here. We can leave it there so we can see what is having our transformation rules. And then the second is the date of birth. I'm going to cheat a little here, okay? But I actually could do that everything in a correct way. But for now, for simplicity, I'm going to cheat a little bit. So to do that, I'm going, and because at the moment I don't have support for custom code, I need to do this rule in a different way. Okay, soon we will have kind of support for custom functions with XSLT support, XSLT 3.0, and we can do this in a different way. But for now, let's use a substring, string, and there you go, substring here. Again, this is going to be on top of that, and the first input will be the date of birth, and then I'm going to the start index is going to be custom, it's going to be 0, and then the number of characters, it will be 5. Okay, and I'm going to, from my string of that is my date of birth, I'm going to get the year. And because that's a string, and then I need to do math operation, I need to convert to an integer. So to integer, and then the input of that is going to be the concat, and then this, and then of course I have my year of birth in an integer format. And to calculate my age, I'm going to get subtract the current year with my year of birth. So I'm going to do a subtract. And that is a subtract operation. And here is where I go into cheat a little bit, is that this value is going to be 2023. Of course, I could get that dynamically, but for sake of simplicity for now, let's put this 2003, and this is going to be the two integer that I have here, int, and then the subtract is going to my age. Okay. You have kind of an overlap functions on top of that. Again, we cannot drag and drop, but we are going to see how we can reorder that in a workaround. But for now, let's continue with the transformation. Okay. So the address is going to be the simple one, because address is just mapping one side to the other. So it's drag and drop, and that's it. Now the zip code, I want to see if exists this, I'm going to copy that. Otherwise, I'm not going to do nothing. So what I'm going to do here is there is an exist logical function. So, and in this case, if the zip code exists, then there is going to be a if function, and so the if function says I need a boolean value as the first input. So this is going to be exist, and then the value is the zip code. So if exists, map the value of zip code and map it to the zip code, and that's it. We have our no. Actually, there is another one that is missing. That is the processing data. We can set up to be current datetime value and map this to this one. And there you go. Let's save it. We are saved. Now you see that kind of there is an overlap situation here. It's not easy to read. So one thing that we can do is just enter in another situation and come back. And you see that now kind of they were reordered, and we can read better these mapping rules. Not perfect yet. What I want is I want to put that shapes in the order I want, and where they're going to stay on the map. But for now, this is a workaround. Again, Microsoft is improving that experience. So we have done that, and well, because we save it, we can actually try to test it now. So if you go to the test, and let me get back my input message and pass it here, we are not going to have the full mapping, but at least I expect that the first mapping approach is going to be there. But no, there is some first operation. If exists, zip code, any condition zip code, it is. Let us subtract 2023 by integer. should be okay. Full name, zip code. Yeah. Let me check that. Let's continue. Okay. Again, you have to realize this is public preview, so some step happens nevertheless, unfortunately. And now on the phone, billing is going to be more complicated, but still doable. Okay, so we want the phone and the cost. To do that, and let me check here my. Okay, I need to use. Let's say start with. And let's click on the start with, and this is the phone number, and starts with custom value plus 351. That is the Portuguese international code. Okay. If starts with, then I need a if else. And this if else condition is the start with value true. If starts with plus 351, then I want the cost, okay? The value of the cost. Otherwise, I want 0, okay? And that's it. And then, of course, starts with, that can be kind of decimal, string. Sometimes these get a little bit confused. The best way is for us now to do a 2 number, and from the 2 number say that this is the if else then, and then use a sum, a cumulative sum, see here, and that sum is going to be the scope is the phone calls, and so yeah, the scope is the phone calls. The scope is the phone calls, and here it is the number. Okay, and then this sum goes to the total national. And let's save it. Come back here. And if I enter that, you see that's going to be rendered in a better way. And now what I need to do is negate the opposite. Okay, so let's say logical not, and the logical not is going to have the value of the start with. So that says that if the not start with plus 351 and get a false, and this is going to negate, it's going to get a true. And then I'm going to have kind of if else again, and that if else again is going to have the not, and then if it's true, I'm going to have the cost, otherwise it's going to have a 0. Okay, and then again I'm going to have a 2 number that I'm going to map this to this one, and then again I'm going to have a sum that I'm going to get this to this, and the scope of that is going to be the phone calls again, and this one is going to be mapped to the international calls, and that's it. And that's it. I saved that, and if now we kind of open that, load, and now if you kind of go back, test this, give the same input, that will work fine. Uh, Now, to finalize this, just give you some heads up about another thing that is, I think this is the one, sorry about this. Yep. In JSON is not that important. In XML is more important, is to respect the order of the outbound. No, so if you see here, I have a PO, I have the line items, and then I'm going to have to and from. No, let me see if I can find, because I have here the example of that. Just bear with me a second. Come on, Notepad, open that. And there you go. This is the sample. And you see that, test it. And this is going to produce the output with lines, items, and to and from. Okay. Now, this is possible, and this is purchase order and PO. Let's create another one. Test. Purchase order and PO. So you can see the show code here. In Beanstalk, it doesn't matter the order on the Beanstalk mapper and the logic app mapper consumption, let's call it this way. It doesn't matter the order that you drag from the source to the destination. It will respect the outbound. So you're going to travel from the top to bottom, and each operation that there is a link transformation is going to generate the XSLT behind the scenes. Now, here is a little bit different, at least for now, because still they are going to improve that experience. But if I start, let's say I'm going to use this, and I'm going to start with from and to. Oh, sorry, I missed one. And I say I'm going to map first the from, and you see that I create here PO from. Now I'm going to map the to, and you see that PO from to, from on top to on the bottom. So if I'm going to kind of save this, let me now test this. You see the output is going to be from and to, not to and from. Of course, I still miss the light items. Okay? That means that it is important for you to map in the correct order in the destination at the moment. Otherwise, the output will be out of order in terms of the sequence of the elements. Okay, keep that in mind, at least for now. And with that is all I have for now, for today, and I hope you enjoy it. And again, test the data mapper. You already improve a lot, and I think we need the feedback of all of you guys to push Microsoft with evidence that we need to improve even more, even furthermore, to have the best data mapper we can to use inside Logic Apps. Okay, see you. Bye.